Hey guys, how do you remember more from a class? How have you ever gone to a class, you take notes, and then a week later you don't remember anything that you learned from that class? This can work for a college class. This could work for a seminar, a business meeting that you go to. This could work for a jujitsu class that you go to. This could work for any class, and it's just a little trick that I have. Here's the trick. If at the beginning, let's say, imagine that you're in a class, and as you're in that class, the teacher says, after this class, we're going to have a test over what you learned. Ask yourself this. Do you think you would be paying more attention? Do you think you might be listening a little bit closer, knowing that there was going to be a test, than if you could just take notes and not? There's something about it. There's something about knowing that you are going to have a test that forces you to focus. So try this trick. Here's the trick. The next time you go to your history class, your Spanish class, your jujitsu class, you go to a business seminar, tell yourself, there's going to be a test after this class, this session. Well, guess what? The teacher might not be giving you a test, but there can still be a test. This is what I would do. If I was a college, high school student, junior high student, whatever, I would tell myself there's going to be a test after this class. And then I would go to class. I would take notes just like I normally always do. But after the class, after I walk out of that classroom, I would find myself someplace to sit down. I would get my notebook out. A clean notebook. I would not look at my other notes. I would not look at my old notes that I took in the class. I would get a clean sheet of paper out and I would write out everything that I learned in that class. Why? Because this, number one, is just kind of a brain dump and it's everything that you learned. But also, because you told yourself that there was going to be a test, you will remember more. But writing it out, here's the crazy thing. Writing out what you just learned, not only not only were you more focused because you knew you had this test, but writing it out again is also cementing it into your memory more because it's a review. One of the key components of remembering whatever you want is review. So you are getting an instant review right after the class. So if you're taking a school class, junior high, high school, or college, go outside, sit outside, write out everything you just learned. You're dumping everything in your brain that you just learned. You might find that there are things that you remember that you didn't write on your original notes, but you're also getting a chance to review it. So now when it comes time to study for this test, you're going to have two sets of notes. You're going to have the notes you took in class, and you're going to have the notes immediately after. They might be identical. Most likely they're not. There's probably going to be some things that you remembered or forgot on this set that you have on this set. But by writing them out again, number one, you have forced yourself to focus during the class, so you're going to remember more from that class because you knew that there was going to be a test at the end. But also, you have a new set of notes now that you can study for your test. You know, that brings up an important point in review. When you're reviewing something, you've just learned something, always review by not looking at the material. In other words, when I memorized the United States Constitution, I didn't review the Constitution just by reading it over and over again. I reviewed the Constitution by carrying a copy of the Constitution in my hand and going for what I call walk and talks, where I would walk and say the Constitution. All legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate and House of Representatives. The House of Representatives shall be composed of members. And I couldn't remember the next point, so then I would look it up. But I would always try to say as much as I could without looking at the data, because if I looked at the data and reviewed it that way, I could trick myself into thinking, oh, I know that, when I really didn't know it. I was just reading it again. So always tell yourself there's going to be a test at the end of this. Number one, it will help you focus more in the class, but also number two, it gives you a second set of notes to review later. If I take a jujitsu class, I tell myself there's going to be a test after this. When I get in my car or when I'm driving home, I review what I learned in class. That is the test. It's a test. I focused more during the jujitsu class because I knew there was going to be a test, but by giving myself a test, I also am giving myself another chance to review. Review is critical to memory. And then I even take it one step further. And when I get home, I have a journal that's my jujitsu journal, and I will write out what I learned. So I learned it in class. I review it on the drive home, that's my test, and then when I get home, I write it in my journal so I have something to go back and review weeks and weeks down the line. Review is a critical component to memory, and when you review, don't look at the data, look away, and when you get stuck, look back at the original data. And this is how I believe you can remember more from classes, how you can remember more from workshops or seminars or even a jiu-jitsu class. So if you like this video, I do appreciate the thumbs up, but I also think you should get my black belt memory course. I have a course that's going to teach you how to memorize anything, names, numbers, chapters of books, speeches, whatever you want. Click the link down below, get my free gift, and then get my black belt memory course. You can get a black belt in memory just like you can get a black belt in karate. Click it at the link below. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.